What's up with the Book of Caring now? It's the one you've been working on yourself. I'm excited to see what kind of fantasy you can conjure up. Maybe that's not even the word for it. After all, if you're putting the one ink in it, that means you're going to make it in reality someday. Now then, your majesty, shall we get going? Seven hours of streaming. I'm surprised you haven't eaten your controller now. I got some chips during the more stuff.
Hello there.
To like make myself less hungry. But again, I need food. But yeah, I got some chips because I was starting to get lightheaded.
Oh, right. I suppose now I should call you Your Majesty. You know, I was just telling Papa, even through all that mess, everyone's really been working hard.
You think this country has gotten any better since then?
Well, seems like everyone's having more fun than before. I'm sure Papa's happy too.
That's good. Hearing that from you really lifts my heart.
It's a joy to see kids like her smile. The future changes slowly and the burden of its momentum will fall on their shoulders one day.
Don't worry. I'll try to do my part with what I've got. I want to help everyone understand that the world could be a better place if we can join hands with one another. Miss Fabian's fed so many hungry people since things changed. Some of those people even said they found their place there. I think I did too. If we can all change together for the better like that, we'll be closer to Your Majesty's and Papa's dream.
A place where I ought to be. Sad at myself I ought to show. The path is never clear.
And I want to help with something too. I want everyone across the land to be able to smile.
Yeah, I'm counting on you. Let's do this together.
Yeah. Thank you, Your Majesty. Oh, thank you, Your Majesty.
We should be the ones thanking her. Feels like I can see the entire country's future in her smile.
Also, Stroll does seem very knightly, but for some reason I can't get used to his portrait where he just has a giant suit of armor.
Everyone.
Look at his shoulder pads. June, I don't think I like that witch hat on you.
Long time no see. How have you been?
As we find ourselves afield, I thought I might visit Alsace myself.
Hold on a tick. Those people there. Surely not.
Surely not.
Naturally, we're drawing attention. We didn't all have to go at once.
Needn't fuss, old thing. It's been too long since we were all together again anyway.
Lady Tuna, did she really come all this way in a runner? Could have asked His Majesty to pop over and bring you back with a teleport or two.
The unmitigated nerve.
Oh, it's fine. I wanted to take in our country as it is. It's definitely a little rougher outside the capital's walls. There's still traces of melancholia around, and the odd human roaming about.
We're sending soldiers out for every incident we can. But it's not easy to hear the voice of the people from more distant regions.
I guess it's obvious. But just because you're king now doesn't make you suddenly all-seeing.
A lesson I learned last year. In the end, I was blind to a great deal of this world. Never would have learned if I hadn't pushed out the door and seen it with my own eyes.
He's right, the capital can be a bit of a bubble. There will always be more to do and learn beyond its walls.
A year ago, I would have just said we could fly over ourselves. I mean, let's be real. The capital isn't going to fall apart if we just sneak over for a little tour, is it?
Of course not. We specifically put precautions in place to keep things running.
Yet it has only been 1 year. We cannot be too complacent too soon, lest the dissidents seize on the opportunity.
Oh, there he is! Over there! See? I told you, that's His Majesty, innit?
Might have been a bit too obvious.
Oi there, Your Majesty!
You dare hoy the king? You swine!
Steady on, Hulkenberg, calm. You needn't draw steel on the poor fellow. We're the ones who indulged in this little day trip.
Your Majesty, thanks for all you do, really. Have to say, my life's a lot easier now.
There's more work to do every day. But we're in this together. We believe in you.
Everyone's so supportive. Kind of brings back memories from last year.
Rather. It's the sort of thing to get a chap all misty-eyed over the past. What a journey it was.
Looks like we're drawing a crowd. Time to get back to work.
Indeed. A veritable mountain of tasks awaits us, and I will see it crested.
A sequel for this game would work so well. I really hope they do that. And I hope they take my idea of, like, have some new characters, but have these guys in it.
And not long after, a new year dawned.
A new year, you say? Yeah, I made the right call because there's still a good bit of cutscenes to go. Holy cow, there was so much more to this game than I realized.
A journey? Are you really planning on leaving us?
I'm planning on leaving you, anyway.
There's more I have to see. With my own eyes.
You want to know what's going on in the world, huh? Well, I guess you are the king.
Sounds like fun, but a daily jaunt down to the slums is one thing, and a proper journey is quite another. You're a king now, lad. You've got the people's expectations on your shoulders. It's all right to just sit on your throne and mind the home front, you know?
I want to do what I can for the people. If that's not kingly, then the crown's just slowing me down.
Come on, this is no time for jokes.
Ever the fearless gadabout, eh? Well, I take your point back. Magler and the humans make a fine barometer for the anxiety still swirling in the country. So you go out and give it a proper survey, where it is and how much is there. If people can't face their anxieties, they can't keep their eyes forward. And if they can't do that, we'll have a bally hard time moving forward as a nation or a people. So you want to get a better grasp of it all. That's your most important duty as a ruler. That's what you're thinking, eh?
Right.
Even the most faraway future begins with the belief that it can be realized, so I'll press onward. That's the best I can do.
If that was your plan, you could have just said so.
Sounds like a fine idea to me. A proper spot of fun, besides. Wouldn't expect any less from our king and captain. Well, since I'm the bally court engineer, I've no choice but to come along. I'm the only driver fit to maneuver the Royal Skyrunner after all.
Oh, that's unfortunate for me.
Yes, here begins our quest anew. Let us sally forth upon our... hello? Are you not listening to me?
Oh, you guys are back in your
You've really got to stop chasing these
default
ideas
outfits.
all on your own. It'll be the death of us.
Once again, sire, I've asked you countless times to give word if you're to leave the castle. Such caprice.
Nurse, don't tell me you called for them beforehand.
Saved us a bit of time, eh? Though, hello, what's this? I count only 2 of the 6 partisans. Short a few spears.
For my part, I believe 'tis unrealistic for all of us to depart the capital together.
Oh, so you have no plans to stop our little adventure, eh?
Hulkenberg and I talked it over. We decided that if you insist on going, we'd rather go with you than stop you.
What about the others, though? I sure hope they come.
Are you sure about this?
I was thinking back to our last fight with Luis. So many people supported us, but not for any high-minded ideals or arguments.
They were supporting us because we were actively fighting a monster on their behalf. In the end, people make choices based on their personal experience and emotion. Even if decided justly and supported by prosperity, people may struggle to trust a king whose face they do not know. An invisible ruler is no cure for their fears.
Right. I'm not opposed to the idea of getting out into the world again. Really, it might be the wisest move to make sure you're a king everyone knows.
My friends and allies believe as I do. Their support is the greatest treasure I could have found. This always circles back to the power of friendship.
Still, this early into the new year? 'Tis never a dull moment in your majesty's employ.
Also a nice touch that they're ending this on the new year. Assuming this is the last cutscene.
Bit of a smaller party than we last set out with, huh? But it's a pleasure to be on the road again with you.
We're Basilio, Juna, and Yufa, and Heisme, and everyone. We gotta make it a party.
Okay, but can we really afford to have both our general and the Royal Guard's captain coming along for this?
'Tis natural course for the Royal Guard to accompany the king. And I trust my corps is not so feeble that it will fall apart in my absence.
We'll make it work. Got to learn to trust others and delegate, right? We'll just have to lead by example.
Right then, let's go.
Anime cutscene to end off? I gotta end with an anime
You
cutscene.
once heard my voice and answered a query in kind. Is fantasy a powerless creation? That timeless question. So long as life remains in the world, we seekers all shall search for our answer. But he will find his. Of that I am certain. And it is thanks to you for believing in and guiding him. That was the true purpose of my royal magic, you know. To seek and obtain guidance from denizens of a land beyond ours. A land that has not yet lost hope. And it was you who answered the call. Armed with your hope, armed with the power of fantasy, you rose in glory. Such courage, such whimsy, and yes, what thrills. You have my sincerest thanks.
Yeah. I figured they would end with an anime
Feels
cutscene.
familiar. It's been far too long.
Aye, the wind feels an echo of days past.
Unusually poetic for you.
Yo, my boy. I love Heisme.
They would have left us behind. Oh.
Well, I'm not certain we're in a position to talk, having followed straight after, saying we could just teleport back.
Well, hey, we figured the kids might want to change your scenery, like.
Okay, this is so much better. Oh, Maria, that's neat. This is such a better ending. I would have been fine if it was only Stroll and Hulkenberg. But I'm glad everyone's here.
Order to Magla, and even greenery to the sands.
Hey, it's Smash. Everyone's here.
I'll say, I definitely like this view better.
Let's go.
Stroll and Hulkenberg would have been a good enough ending, but I'm glad it's everyone. Oh, we've made it. Oh my word. What a game. We're here. The credits. Really good ending. Nice ending. I really hope they do a sequel. I don't really know the specifics on like what the story should be about, but I want it to be, I want some new characters. I definitely want a new protagonist. I want to be able to see the Elda as a king. I want to be able to see all these characters. I would like a mix of new characters and original characters. Maybe you can even throw in some followers. Depending. Maybe you could have Maria, like, be a teenager. That'd be neat. You could do so many things with a sequel, and I'm not really an idea person as much. I mean, I have ideas. Like, the ideas I get is, like, when I play games, I'm just like, oh, yeah, you know, I get some ideas of what can happen, but I'm not, like, super creative. I would have to really think about what I would want them to do in terms of a sequel. But I want a sequel, and I want it to mix characters between new ones and original ones. That's all I know. I would have to sit on the game more to really think about what I would want them to do with said sequel. But yeah. Alright, Metaphor ReFantazio. I mean, the game is great. I've been pretty vocal about that. I'm willing to answer any, like, specific questions, but I'm just gonna do my normal spiel. But, yeah, Metaphor's a good game. I think The thing is, before the final boss, I probably would have said, like, between this game, my top 3 Atlas games, like Persona SMT. Obviously, this game, Persona 5 Royal, and SMT 5 Vengeance. They are, like, all pretty close in rankings. I was gonna say this is my favorite. I don't know if I feel that way anymore because of how annoyed I got with the final boss. I would really have to think about it. But putting that aside, I think Metaphor ReFantazio is just barely my favorite of the 3. I don't know. Doing that final boss really soured my mood a bit. So, I don't know if I feel that way. Maybe I have to NG plus the games to see if I feel that way. But yeah. On its own, though, the game is great. Where do I start? There's so much to talk about. I really love the characters. The characters are, like, up there. It's, like, one of my favorite casts in all of gaming. Like, the cast is up there with, like, Dragon Quest XI, Tales of Berseria, Tales of Graces, Rebirth, FF7 Rebirth. It's up there for, like, if I think of, like, games with my favorite cast of characters, I would think of Metaphor ReFantazio. I really did like the characters. They were all really good. I guess I'll start with my character rankings, because that's what I promised I'd do. But yeah, the character rankings, there are 8 characters. I'm not gonna bother ranking, like, the side followers, because, like, I'm either neutral on them, or I think some of them are pretty good. So I'm not gonna bother ranking, like, Bardin and Alonzo. Yeah. But, main character rankings, I go like this. 8th place is Gallica, obviously. Probably comes as a surprise to no one. There's just nothing really special about Gallica. I didn't find her, like, annoying. Well, I found her annoying. The only time I found her annoying is when I lost a boss fight and she kept talking, and I was just like, well, I'm annoyed about the boss fight, so I took it out on Gallica. That aside, though, I didn't really mind Gallica, but I also didn't really like her. There was something really special about her, so she's obviously my least favorite. 7th place would be Hulkenberg. Then we'll do Stroll for 6th place. And this is where it gets tough. I think it'd be Yufa for 5th. Yufa, then... I'm missing someone, aren't I? Last place? Wait. There's 8. Gallica, 8th. 7th, Hulkenberg. 6th, Stroll. I'm trying to think, who am I missing? Would 5th be Yufa? I think it's Yufa. I think it's Yufa. I like Juna more than Yufa. Just barely. Hold up. I don't want to say my number 1 until, like, the end. That's why. I keep thinking I'm forgetting someone. Is there 7? Not 8? No, oh, the Elda, right. The Elda would, The Elda I'm not counting. Okay, I understand. I understand why I lost count. I'm only doing 7. I'm not gonna rank the Elda. The Elda isn't really... The Elda's like I said, the Elda's neat, I guess, but he's not really a character. That's why I was confused. We're doing 7 then. I was confused for a second. The Elda isn't, like, I'm not gonna rank the Elda. Like, the Elda's cool, I guess, and neat, but, like, he's barely a character. Okay, so we're doing 7. Alright. Gallica's number 7. 6th is Hulkenberg. 5th is Stroll. 4th place is Yufa. Then we'll say Juna 3rd, Heisme, then Basilio. Which is actually kind of surprising, because Basilio? Let's talk about Basilio and how the game later on... Actually, I'll talk about that after. But Basilio surprised me, right? Because I feel like Basilio joined really late in the game during all the stuff with, like, oh, hey, like, Luis was dead, but he's not dead, and, like, the story stuff I didn't really like. So, Basilio really surprised me. You're probably like, wow, Basilio's your favorite character? I really liked his follower rank. I think his follower rank did him justice. Obviously, my character rankings are kind of based on the follower ranks, because I feel like that's where the characters get the most development. But Basilio ended up being my favorite. Because, I don't know, his follower rank was just really good. It was really, really awesome. I really liked it. So I think that's my rankings. Probably. I really like all these characters. Even my well, Gallica I can, like, take or leave. I could take or leave Gallica. I don't hate her. I don't love her. She's okay, I guess. Even like Hulkenberg, my least favorite, I still like her. And Stroll's my second least favorite. But like, I really like the cast. They're good. The gameplay's fun, you know. I really like the gameplay. It's more in line with SMT, which is both a curse and a good thing. Because I like SMT games, but when stuff goes wrong in SMT games, like the way missing works, or repels and stuff, not repels so much, but the way missing works, it annoys me. It's like the thing I hate the most about SMT, so. The combat could be fun. I do like the synthesis moves you can do. The archetype system is like what makes this game fantastic. That's definitely what does really good with the gameplay. I love mixing and matching different archetypes, the characters figuring out what they do best, and mastering different things. It's a really fun progression system. Even if the game could be a little more forgiving with Magla and stuff, I think it's a really nice progression system. I really like the archetypes and how they were done. And I also liked Atlas putting in Soul Hacker, Persona Master, and Devil Summoner to reference other franchises. That was also a really good touch. But yeah, the archetypes were really fun. What a good system. And the music isn't that great. Like, I haven't been vocal about it outside of this stream, but the music is just kind of meh. There's not really many tracks in the game. Even the area music, you're probably like, oh, Nova. If the battle music isn't that good, what about the area music? Same thing. The area music never really caught me either. I think I remember thinking the final dungeon theme, not the final dungeon, Tyrant Star, Skybound Avatar dungeon, like the penultimate dungeon. I thought that theme was like okay, I guess, but the music isn't really that good. It's fine, I guess. I can kind of do without it, basically. It's not so bad that I just don't want to listen to it, but it's also not really good, I guess. There's very little tracks in the game that actually catch my attention, and I'm never gonna listen to Metaphor's music when I'm not playing the game, basically. Am I missing anything? The game is really pretty. I like the art style. Alright. It's time for the story. We're gonna talk about the story now, chat. We're gonna talk about the story, and while I talk about the story, I'm gonna talk about things that I think could have gone better. Because I was talking with, like 2 weeks, it's been 2 weeks now. 2 to 3 weeks ago, one of my close friends, like one of my IRL friends, we were talking about Metaphor, and it gave me some idea of what it gave me ideas of what they could do. He gave me some ideas of what they could have done. But, first I'll talk about the story. I think the story's really good. I think it does kind of lose its footing as it goes on, but I think there are a couple of reasons for that. I think the main thing is positives, right? I think the game does a really good job with the setting. I really like the tone of the game that it sets out in the beginning. I like the idea of the different tribes. I like the idea of the narrative and like this. I like the idea that the game takes place throughout a tournament. That's like a really cool touch. I really like that a lot. And I like having one of each tribe and the different tribes. It deals a lot with racism and stuff and like equality. It's really nice. And Luis is a really good villain. I'll toss that in. He's probably one of the best villains in all of Persona and SMT combined, like of the SMT sub-branch games or whatever. Because this is basically an SMT game. I'm considering it an SMT game. It's both Persona and SMT, so I'm counting it. But yeah, the story's really nice. That being said, that's neat.
Guest, from a world I shall never know.
I'm the Great Seeker.
In your eyes, I know our journey was ultimately a fiction.
Yeah, see, this I'm kind of cool with, right? The game ends and you're probably like, oh, Nova, do you hate that they're like putting in your face that it's fiction? This I'm okay with. The game has already ended and it's like, hey, this was the end of the book and etc. This I'm cool with. I don't think this ruins the game or ruins the story in any way. This I'm okay with.
However, I hope your memories of this fantastical adventure burn as bright in your reality. I hope the promise of our world echoes in you.
This is like what Klonoa does. They have like the author of the book appear and it's like your name. This I'm okay with. This is pretty cool.
With all my heart, I hope that fantasy gives you strength.
Oh, we got more? What? Post-credit? Okay, I'll have to hold on what I'm talking about.
Look at that. The rubble's just bait for tourists now.
I never expected a view like this.
Let's see it all. Let's see the world.
Yeah.
A new journey now beckons.
Please, ReFantazio
The days
2.
of eld, the people prospered and perished in turn. Struck by their ways, I wrote a book of my
They're
dearest.
probably gonna do a ReFantazio though over a
tale
sequel.
of fantasy. In my vision, they placed their trust, and so the kingdom breathed new life.
Ties me.
Strength to believe in the unknown. That can change everything.
It's really cute that Maria's with them. That's really nice.
You will face all
Because she wanted to see more of the world.
but carry onward with all your heart. Onward, fearless, into a world unknown.
That's a really nice ending. Definitely one of my favorite endings in recent memory. That goes toe-to-toe with, like, Fantasy Lives On. What a great game. It had its problems, but overall, very, very good game. I need to replay it, like, on NG Plus to see if I feel that way, but it might just be, like, my favorite Atlas RPG. Honestly, it was very good. That ending goes along with the Rebirth ending on, like, one of my favorite endings also. That was the Charadrius? That's sick. I didn't notice that. Coronation of the King. I'll definitely platinum this game. You would transfer currently owned... I'm going to continue what I'm talking about in a bit. You would transfer currently owned items with some exceptions. Money, mag, royal virtue, scanned items. We need to keep a save open because I need to talk to those NPCs. Or not NPCs, the characters in general. Okay. Yeah. Very nice. Take me over here so it doesn't, Actually, you know what? Load me up here. I don't want the game to, like, play the opening. I feel like we'll have this music playing in the background. I actually really like this track. This is, like, the second time we heard this track. I don't think this track is, like, amazing, but if I had to pick area music, town music, this is probably one of my favorites. I do like it. It's pretty good. But I'll have this going in the background and I'll move around while I talk. Maybe. Okay, where was I? The story is really good. That being said, I think the game... I think after getting Yufa and after doing the Virga Island stuff, I think the game kind of... I wouldn't say it falls flat, but I think the story kind of gets messy from there. Like, a big reason is, me and my friend were talking about, Basilio joins really late in the game. I feel like Basilio joins at a really weird point in the game, essentially. And he joins kind of where, like, all the crazy story stuff is happening, so I feel like Basilio joins really late, which is why I was like, oh, I'm not sure where Basilio's gonna rank in my characters. Like, oh, they barely have time to, like, do anything with Basilio, like, and he kind of just feels here. I do like that we have Basilio non-playable, though, because that kind of helped them a bit, him and Del being on the ship with us. But anyway, it's no secret that I think the Opera House scene is not very good. And it's obvious, like, oh, we're not gonna kill Luis, but the game makes it like, oh yeah, you killed Luis, what's gonna happen now? And then the game's like, oh, hey, Forden is actually the villain or whatever, and he's gonna be the big bad. But then they're like, oh no, Luis is back. Because obviously killing Luis there would have made Luis look pathetic. But I don't think they should have done that. I think they should have had Luis outsmart the party in a different way. I feel like the writing for it was a bit weak. Also, they brought Zorba back. I wasn't really a fan of that. Zorba should have been like a beginning villain, like, oh, he meant nothing. You know? Like, they should have kept Zorba as a beginning game villain. They could have, they should have just made Zorba like, oh yeah, he's a nothing villain. You kill him in the beginning, that's it. I don't like Zorba's increased role in this game. I don't think Zorba needed anything more. He did not. So that's one thing I didn't like. And again, when they were talking about killing Luis and that he wasn't actually dead and oh, his body, wasn't there or whatever. Basically, I'm just like, I don't know. I kind of wish Luis, like, just outsmarted the party in a different way. He technically did outsmart them. I wish he just, like, you know, saw it coming, pun not intended. I wish he just, like, Maybe, like, when they shot the lance at him, he just, like, stopped it or something. Or maybe the lance just injured him. Or not injured him. It did hit him, but they didn't do the whole fake-out death. I didn't like the fake-out death thing. So that's one thing of the story I didn't really like. Another thing is the Rella thing. I don't think Rella was properly built up in the game. Where they wanted to go for, like, a Rella Maruki twist, basically. Kind of like Rella had a similar goal to Maruki, except a lot more half-baked. I don't think Rella had proper build-up for that. And I thought her motivations were kind of stupid. I didn't really gel with it, vibe with it, basically. So, that's another point I didn't like. Also, the game, this is gonna be really weird. The game doesn't feel like it drags at the end. It kind of feels like the opposite. It kind of feels like after you get Yufa and after you do the Virga Island stuff in the festival, and then like, oh, you go back to the Opera House, that's fair. You try to fight Luis and he outsmarts you, that's fair. But again, I didn't like how the writing for it was. However, I feel like after that, it's kind of like the game kind of skyrockets through plot points. I don't know if that was just me. It felt like the game kind of like skyrocketed past Luis' fake-out death. Like, oh, we gotta deal with Rella now because Rella, or like, well, first, Forden's dead, Luis is back. Oh, okay, now we have to deal with Rella. She dies, you deal with the Ice Dragon, and she sends her final message. And after that, it's like, oh, let's prepare for Luis again. And we're gonna have to fight Luis again. Oh, but not really, because they can't end the game now. And then they have the whole Elden, Sanctum, and Fairy thing, which I actually think is a neat twist. I don't, like, love it. I don't really hate it either. But it kind of feels like the game skyrockets in terms of events after Virga Island. It kind of feels like the game has to quickly get through its event. It kind of feels rushed, which is really weird to say because this game is like 80 hours. It's a really weird complaint, but it feels like the game's story is rushed after the Luis fake-out death, or even during the Luis fake-out death, but I would say after the Luis fake-out death because I didn't really agree with that. But, you know, it kind of feels like the game is just quickly trying to get through its events after that. But at the same time, there's more gameplay. Like, the game is still long. I'm not necessarily saying the game is too short, because it's quite the opposite. This game is really long. But the story feels like its pacing is a little out of whack. I feel like the pacing was really good up until Virga Island, but then after Virga Island and after the Virga Island stuff, I feel like the game was a little rushed. Like, the game was still long enough. It's an 80-hour game. This playthrough is, like, it's gonna be around the length of my Rebirth playthrough. My Rebirth playthrough had, like, what, 269 parts? Something like that? This playthrough is probably gonna have, like, between 250 and 260. So it's a long game. It's not too short. But the story side of things feels rushed after Virga Island. I think the pacing was really good between the beginning and Virga Island. But I think after Virga Island, maybe after the Opera House, take your pick, it doesn't really matter, they're basically the same. Let's just say after Virga Island, because I didn't like the Luis fake-out death. I feel like the game just kind of rushes its story. Because they give you like a 10-day deadline after Rella, and then they give you like the giant deadline. I don't know. Yeah, it feels really rushed after Virga Island. Which kind of did a number on my story opinions. And, you know. And then something me and my friend were talking about was that the Rella Ice Dragon bit, right? That should have been a dungeon. I think the game actually, I think I would have liked it if the game had an extra dungeon. This is asking me to make the game longer, I know. But I think the game could have benefited from one more main story dungeon. And that would have obviously made the length closer to Persona 5. And this game is already pretty close to Persona 5's length. But I think it would have done good. I think the Magic Academy ruins that you fight Rella and the Ice Dragon at, my friend brought it up and was like, oh, maybe that should have been a dungeon that you explored. Exploring like a rundown Magic Academy. And I'm like, oh, you know what, dude? You're right. I agree with that. I think it should have been a dungeon. When we dealt with Rella and the Ice Dragon. Whether they want to do the dungeon after that boss or before a boss. Like, I think that should have been a dungeon. Basically. Yeah, what else do I want to talk about? I think the Moore thing was super out of nowhere and rushed. Moore just being Hydrathalus. I didn't really like that all that much. I didn't really care about Moore to begin with, but I don't think Moore being the king really fit. It's honestly kind of similar to East 10, where I'm like, I didn't like that the old man was Rolo. I know I'm talking about East 10 a good bit, but that's because I literally finished it like 3 hours ago. And I feel like what I'm saying about metaphor here kind of applies to East 10 as well. Not as much, but kind of. Oh, hey, Gina. Yeah. It kind of applies to that. I feel like the game rushed its story past Virga Island. Is essentially what I think. And I think they just realized, oh, we can't, like, Moore's rank 8 was super, like, oh, open, like, oh, nothing really happened, and like, oh, we can't just end the game with Moore being, like, nothing. We have to do something with him. What are we doing with Moore, exactly? Oh, let's have him pop up. That's another thing. Why did Moore pop up mid-final boss? Why did you fight Luis the first time, and then you did the Moore stuff? Is it just me, or did that feel super disconnected from everything? If they were gonna do the Moore stuff, I kind of would have rather it happen not during the Luis fight. Obviously, the main character had a lot of blood, and they had to find a way to bring him back. But, you know, I don't think the Moore stuff fit. I think it broke the pace of the final boss sequence a little bit. By the way, it sounds like I'm being really harsh, but I love the game. This game is like a 9 out of 10. I went on Backlog and gave it 4.5 stars. I love this game. It's really good. And the best way to talk about games is to talk about where, like, you know, where they're bound to need some improvement. So, like, it might sound like I'm being harsh on the game, but trust me, I love the game. I played 80 hours of it. It's a really fun game. It's not perfect, though. It's got little things I wish were better, so... I'm just being overly critical, but I feel like that's the best way I talk about games, by being overly critical. Not overly critical, but critical. Like, critiquing them. But yeah, I think the Moore stuff should have happened. If it was gonna happen, it was super out of nowhere. But I think if it was gonna happen, it should have happened before the Luis fight. I feel like it didn't really fit that you fought Luis once, and then you did the Moore stuff, and then you fought Luis's last 2 forms. Oh, really weird. But, you know. Kind of like Ease, where the story stuff was rushed in the last 3 chapters. The story was rushed from the end of Virga Island to the start of last month, which isn't many days. Yeah, exactly. I feel like the game is rushed. Basically, after Virga Island. I think the pacing was pretty much perfect pre-Virga Island. Or pre-end of Virga Island. Up until Virga Island, I think the pacing was pretty much spot on. No complaints. But yeah, I really like the story. I like the story and the setting. A lot. And I like that the game takes place in, like, a tournament setting. But, like, it's no secret that post-Virga Island, the game just feels rushed, and I didn't like the Rella stuff, I didn't like the fake-out Luis death, I didn't like the Moore stuff. So, yeah. Overall, the story's good. I would still call the story good.
Alright then.
Even with these problems. It's not one of my favorite stories of all time, but I still think the story is good. And again, I look at the characters more so than the story. The story can be, if the story and the characters are both good, that's ideal, you know? FF7 Rebirth has a great story and a great characters. But, like, there's also times, like with Tales of Graces, where, like, the story isn't the best, but it's good enough. And the characters are fantastic. And I guess that's kind of where Metaphor falls. Like, I like the story. I don't really love it because of the little shortcomings it has, but I still like it enough. Was there anything else I wanted to talk about? I don't know if them keeping the game 4 months was predetermined. They could have extended it maybe 1 month and fixed the pacing. Yeah, I really just think the pacing after Virga Island needed to be better. I think it was too skyrocketing. It was like... It just flew by. After you got Yuffie, after, like, you left Virga Island, it flew. The game was still long enough to justify a length, and it still met the quota of an RPG. A long RPG. But the story didn't feel substantial. It felt like a whole lot of... It felt like too much nothing. Maybe not nothing, but too much fluff. Too much emptiness, I guess. And just kind of like, oh, we gotta get through this. We don't got much time. Okay, well, we can go back to talking about the story, but some other things I want to talk about that I didn't get to talk about. The dungeons are very repetitive and very samey. I just wanted to bring that up. The dungeons, if they make a sequel, I hope they put more time into the dungeons. There were very few varied dungeons in this game. And I think that was a mistake. So, they should have done that better. I like the followers. The other followers, like, not the main characters. I like the non-main character followers. But I don't think any of them really, like, were, oh, amazing. Like, I really like the main cast. But, like, Alonzo, Bard, and Maria, they're probably my top 3. Like, they're neat, I guess. I like that they're in the game rather than not in the game and have their storylines. The other followers, they're not, like, on the level of, like, Persona 5's Confidants, for example. Because Persona 5 is the best lineup of Confidants, but they were good enough. I think they were neat. They didn't really need any more. I just wanted to bring that up. I didn't, like, love them. I didn't really hate them either. I thought they were a neat addition to the game. The follower rank-ups were nice. The main casts were all really good, but the side ones, they were fine. I'm just bringing up, like, miscellaneous stuff. But, yeah, dungeons could have been more varied. Followers were neat. What else? I don't like the way the Dragon Trials were handled. I wish the Dragon Trials were handled better. Status ailments in this game are really annoying. Like, super annoying. I do not agree with the mentality of every status ailment, meaning you can't use synthesis. I think that's pretty dumb. Some of them, sure, like anxiety and paralysis, or some of them are fine, but like poison stopping you from using a synthesis move, for example, is stupid. I didn't like status ailments were mostly annoying in this game, and that's why I didn't like the dragons, because they felt way too gimmicky with status ailments. Trying to look through the menu and seeing if I'm missing anything. Magla rates, I wish you got more Magla at the end, or the archetypes didn't cost so much. Especially considering that the game feels rushed, right? I feel like you don't really get much time to... I mean, you get time to do everything. Time management was handled well. I like that the game let you max out all stats and all followers on one playthrough. That was nice. That's something that Persona 3 and 4 don't let you do, but Persona 5 Royal fixes. I never finished the original Persona 5. But yeah, so that's nice. I think you could have removed the second Luis fight and nothing would be lessened, like it was just a waste of time. Oh, yeah, I agree with that, actually. I agree with that, Raptor. The second fight after the 10-day deadline, right? You could get rid of that. You could get rid of that, and I think that'd be fine. That's what I mean. That's another thing. The game obviously makes a big deal, like, oh, we gotta fight Luis. And then it was kind of funny at times, like, oh, we're gonna beat Luis for real this time. But it also got annoying to be like, alright, this time we promise you're gonna kill Luis. Oh, wait, no, we have a bunch of plot stuff happening. And it's like, oh, now we're gonna kill Luis? Nope, now we got the Ancient Elden Sanctum and the Reveal of the Prince. By the way, the Reveal of the Prince grew on me. I don't think it's like I'm not gonna call it a masterpiece twist, like the best twist in all of gaming, but I don't hate it. I think it's pretty cool, the angle they took with it. I'm neutral on it, but it grew on me as we went through the game. Dear me. Also, the idea that Elder are human was also cool. That was great as well. I'm picking things that I haven't talked about. I'm giving this game a review it deserves. I think the ailment stuff goes back to the resistance stuff we talked about. The archetypes don't get ailment resistances. Oh, yeah. That's another thing. Oh, that's another thing I wanted to bring up. I think this game should... If the enemy can repel and block, I don't see why the characters shouldn't repel and block. It's either the enemies can't do it and you can't do it, or we can both do it. You know? I don't like that the enemies can repel and block, but we can't. Like, none of our archetypes have that resistance. I wish that was different, too. Final dungeon was fine. Still not really a fan. The game also has a problem reusing enemies. it reuses enemies a lot. And that, like, you know, maybe that's a budget reason, I don't know, but it's something I noticed. It reuses enemies a lot. Final Dungeon was fine. I didn't really love it. It was okay, I guess. It wasn't awful, but, like, it definitely felt like, they were trying to drag it a bit with, like, refights of humans that we fought throughout the game many times, and then, like, having the main humans to fight again. It was fine, though. It wasn't bad. And this game really needs a retry system. I'm astounded the game doesn't just let you retry, especially during the final boss. Like, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, it has, like, a 50-minute to an hour. The final boss in Rebirth is 1 hour long. I kid you not. The entire fight with Sephiroth and, like, all the stuff with Zack and all the stuff with the party members, it is, like, 1 hour long. I kid you not. But if you lose to a phase, it checkpoints you. That's what I was thinking of with ReFantazio. I don't know why they don't have a checkpoint. If they want to let you not retry throughout the game, fine, whatever. I wish it would let you retry. But, like, there should be a checkpoint for the final boss, at least. Like, that's ridiculous. I don't really... Like, who's going to want to sit through that again? Anyway, I just wanted to vent about that. Is there anything else I want to talk about? Because I'm probably about to end stream. I think I pretty much got all my points. But I think the bottom line, right? I think at the end of the day, the big thing I wanted to talk about that I'm glad I did was this game feels rushed post Virga Island. It kind of feels like the game's events like skyrocket in pacing. So, that's the main thing. I wanted to just let that be clear. The game is still great. I give it a 9 out of 10. It's still really good. It probably cracks a top 20 list. Because I'm pretty sure this game, Persona 5 Royal, and SMT5 Vengeance, I think they would all make a top 20 list. I don't really know what's beyond number 10 on my games list. Like, favorite games list. Favorite RPGs, specifically. Because platformers is a different question. Games in general would change the list a bit. But, favorite RPGs? These 3 games are on a top 20 RPG list, most likely. At least Metaphor and... I think all 3 of them would be. But... as of now, I think I'm confident in saying I like this game more than the other 2. Just over Persona 5 Royal, and then unfortunately Vengeance is my least favorite of the 3, but I still really like Vengeance. They're not far behind. They're all, like, very close together. Like, they are literally a hair inch away from each other in length. And maybe that'll change when I replay Metaphor, because they're all relatively fresh on my mind as well. Like, I played Persona 5 Royal, like, in the summer. I think I was playing Vengeance and Royal concurrently at one point. So, they're all pretty fresh on my mind. I still need to play Vengeance again to get my Platinum, and this game to get my Platinum. Maybe then I'll decide which one I like more, but as of now, Metaphor ReFantazio is a really good game. It's one of my favorite games of the year, even with my story complaints, even with my other gameplay complaints. There were some annoyances like SMT classic stuff and the way the story was done in certain departments and ailment stuff and everything. And pacing. But overall, I still really loved it. It's still one of the best games of the year. And I would highly recommend it for anyone looking for a good JRPG to play. But I'm done, I promise. I have to go eat and I have stuff to do. I'm really busy this week. Fantasian's coming out at a really bad week because I gotta see what I'm gonna be streaming this week. I'm super busy. But you know, we'll get it done. Fantazio's done. But yeah, let's call it here. It was a fun time. It's the end of the year, so definitely no SMT Persona stuff. I don't know what Persona and SMT is gonna do next. But assuming, take this with a grain of salt. Assuming, it obviously depends on what they announce. Assuming we don't get any SMT Persona news in the near future, I think the next one I'm gonna do is SMT4 Apocalypse. But again, that mostly depends on Atlas and what they put out. But I would count on SMT4 Apocalypse being next, and I know I want to get to Digital Devil Saga, and other options are like, I want to eventually do like Reload and Soul Hackers 2, and Strange Journeys like a maybe. There's options. But I can guarantee that most likely Apocalypse will be the next one I do. We have to get back to SMT4. We have to get back to the SMT4 duology, because I played SMT4 a few months ago, so I want to play... No. Leave me alone. I played SMT4 not too long ago, so we gotta get Apocalypse done. So that'll be the next one we do, depending on when Atlas... Like, if Atlas gives us nothing. But yeah. I'm done. rambling. I got 2 games done today. That's nice. Fantasian comes out on Thursday. I don't know when I'm streaming this week. Like, honestly, I'm really busy. I'm gonna be streaming, but, you know, I'll have to figure it out with my schedule. I know I'm at least streaming tomorrow. Dragon Quest. We're gonna do Dragon Quest 3 tomorrow, definitely. Not sure if I'm doing anything Wednesday. Thursday, I'm gonna start Fantasian. I think I'm gonna stream Fantasian Thursday and probably Friday. I think Saturday or Sunday I'm not streaming. Again, I'm busy mostly this weekend. Like, this week as well, but the weekends where a lot of busy stuff happens. But we are gonna play a lot of Fantasian when that releases, so... yeah, and then maybe I'll start something new next week. Maybe I'll start a Pokemon game, finally, because I have to see which one won the poll, and I might want to do a Pokemon game. But yeah, thanks for watching. See you all next time.